Hey everybody, I'm Jim and you're watching Vendor Corner. We are brought to you by Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot, located at 502 West Brennan Road, Lakeland, Florida 33813. If you're ever in the Central Florida area, stop by and say hello. If you let us know you're coming, maybe we can get you on the show as a guest. There you go. What is Vendor Corner? Vendor Corner is a show for people who are booth owners or vendors in a mall like Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. It's also for mall owners and those thinking about becoming mall owners or becoming booth vendors. There you go. All right, we're going to move right into today's topic. Today's topic is the most controversial aspect of being a booth owner. Okay, there's no particular order in these. I asked this out on social media, and so these are the answers that I got. The first one that I took note of was a shop owner not covering theft. Okay, let's look at this in different ways here. An owner has no way of knowing actually if the item that's missing got stolen or maybe misplaced or accidentally taken out of the shop by the booth owner and now they're claiming it was stolen. So very difficult for a booth owner to make that up. So we get it, and the commenter, when I asked the question, said that there's a vendor has no control over actual theft or prevention, and I think that's wrong. You could do the same thing a shop owner can, the exact same things. I know there's a lot of times that people pick on the shop owner, say they don't do this, they don't do that. You are your own business with inside that business, and you could do the exact same things they can. Put up cameras if you want to. I know everybody would say, have the shop needs to hire security. Well, you could hire security just as well as they can. That's very expensive, and it doesn't seem like it would be a logical course to go down. But yeah, there you go. So, yep. So that's it. That was the first thing, not covering theft. As a shop owner, I own Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot. We aren't responsible for lost or stolen items. It says it in our contract. We do our best to mitigate that. We do have cameras, but even with the cameras, you have to be watching. You have to catch them, and then you have to get the cops in, and then do something about it. Have them do something about it. So. It's a sticky situation and very controversial. Number two, charging rent and commission. Charging both rent and commission. I don't know that that's so controversial. I think that's kind of industry wide, but let me explain that as far as a shop owner goes. Rent covers the overhead. It covers the lights, the security, the cameras, all that kind of stuff that goes with security. It covers all that stuff. And commission is for growth of the business. So as the business grows, as people do better in the business, that percentage, that commission that they're taking allows the business to grow. Okay? So just think of it that way. Your rent pays your overhead, your commission pays for the growth of the business. All right, moving along. Number three. Authentically selling vintage and antiques and not reselling or selling wholesale stuff. That seems to be a controversy. I know at Decades Reclaimed Vintage Depot we have an 80-20 split. 80% needs to be vintage and the other 20% needs to be vintage-like. So you can get some things that are newer and fall into that 20% as long as they're vintage-like. There you go. This kind of goes along with the same thing. This is number 4 here. Yard sale stuff in a vintage antique store. Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine. I don't like it here at the shop. We have restrictions on some stuff that you can sell. We kind of say that if it has a barcode on it and it's currently made in the same format, and there's a couple exceptions to that, but if it's currently made in the same format, you can't sell it. So we do not allow DVDs because they have a barcode and they're currently made in the same format. We do not allow CDs because of the same thing. Now somebody's going to say, well, what about albums? Because they reprint albums. So we do allow albums because the majority of them are older and vintage, and the new ones that are printed are highly collectible. I know somebody's going to argue with me about that and get into semantics about, well, this and that and others, and they don't print this CD anymore and that. But that's kind of how we handle it. You're not allowed to have anything like a phone case or anything modern in your booth and sell it here. All right, number 5, shop owners being controversial. Some good, some bad. I get it. I'm probably not the best shop owner out there. I do have my faults, I know that. But I work real hard at it. I work real hard for the customer and for our guests that come in to make their shopping experience pleasurable so that they'll come back. Everything that I kind of do is geared that way so that we can get people in the door. Number 6 is markups. Markups being controversial. Over 50% is too much. I don't understand. I mean, in order to know what the markup is, you got to know what the person paid for it. And then, I mean, if it's controversial in your shop, why are you sharing what you paid for an item? How do people know? That's what I'm saying. How do people know how much you marked it up? You know, your markup's going to be from how much you paid for the item, and then whether it's fair market value. You know, all that's going to depend. That's a totally another. We've done shows about that before, about pricing and stuff like that. But markup over 50% being too much as controversial. Well, again, how do they know what your markup is? Okay, number 7, being asked to leave a shop for poor sales. I don't know that this is so much controversial as it is questionable. Does it even happen? I've been a mall owner for a while now. I've known other people who own malls. I've traveled and talked to mall owners, and I've asked that question because I hear about it all the time. If you don't sell twice as much as your rent, that you get kicked out. I don't think it happens as often as people say. And then again, what if the whole shop is not doing well? Are you going to kick everybody out? You know, here at Decades, we have asked a few people to leave for not lack of sales, but lack of trying. They're not working their booths. They're not in the shop. They're not bringing anything in. They're not moving stuff around. That's totally different. That's not because they didn't make the sales. That's because they just used the shop as a storage facility. So if it has happened, if you guys know, I mean, really, legitimately, if you were ever kicked out of a shop, I'd like to hear the details of that. And be honest with us. You know, put it in the comments, but be honest. Let us know that you got kicked out solely because you didn't sell, not because of a conflict with the owner, or maybe you were breaking some rules or something like that, or, you know, you didn't think you made enough sales and you left. No, really, I would like to hear a story of somebody who actually got kicked out of a mall for not meeting a sales goal. Okay, so let me know. All right, so let's see, we're moving on. So the next thing that somebody said that was controversial is people thinking everything is donated to us, and we should sell it super cheap. I don't know that we have that issue here at Decades. We do have, I think our industry as a whole, people constantly want a deal, and they're constantly asking for a discount. At Decades, we used to, in our early years, we used to reach out to vendors and ask them for a discount. But it was very, very time consuming. We've gotten very busy in the past year. Each month, our sales are better than the year before, same month. So our growth has been very good. So we just don't have the time to do it. We're trying to nip it in the bud. We tell them we're sorry, we can't negotiate others' pricing. And they ask if we can reach out to them. We say, no, we can't do that. And so it's a mess. I get that it's controversial because it's a mess, and I wish it wasn't the way it is, that our industry wasn't tagged with people assuming that it's a garage sale or assuming that everything's negotiable. But it happens, and I'm not sure how to handle it. We try our best here. We tell them we can't contact the vendors. They just, they're an individual, and they don't see that it takes a lot of time to reach out to the vendors. Even when we do, if we don't get a hold of them, then they want us to call them back, and it's just very difficult. So that to me is very controversial. I'm not sure of the right answer of that. Okay, moving on. Old vendors buying the new vendor stuff and then reselling it. Yeah, that's not a good look for you as a vendor if you're doing that, and it's not a good look for a shop. If a vendor comes in and they're pricing too low and you see it, you need to let them know, hey, that piece that you have there, you should probably double the price that you have on that, and you're still going to be able to sell it instead of buying it and selling it. Now, we do have kind of a policy here. If you buy it, as long as you're not putting it back in the shop, that's okay. But I think the first thing you should be there for is for the other vendor, trying to help them out. So go with that, help them out. But if you ask them, say, hey, you've got this little tin here and you've got $5 on it, it should be 10. They're like, well, no, I'm okay. I didn't pay much for it. Then by all means, go ahead and buy it. And as long as you're okay with it, you should be okay with it. Okay, next, moving on. Booth owners that don't update being controversial. Again, we talked about getting kicked out. Well, that would be a good reason for being kicked out of a shop or a mall, is that you do not update your booth. You don't come in, you don't put new stuff in. Definitely controversial. Moving on. Shop owner not doing any advertising. Yeah, as a shop owner, we do a ton of stuff on social media. We have done all sorts of different things. We have done radio ads, we've done print ads, we've done a ton of stuff. Not everything works. We continue to do what we feel has worked. Social media is kind of hard to tell unless you ask everybody in the door what brought them in. And we try to do that, so we try to get an idea if our social media is even working or not. But yeah, as a shop owner, you got to do something. But as a booth owner, you have to do something too. Don't stand back and complain because your shop doesn't advertise. You have every right to advertise your space and the same ability that they do. Whether it costs money or not, you want them to pay money, you can pay money. It's the same. So vendors, booth owners, and owners need to work on that together. Okay, number 12, being at the mercy of the owner's whims. Yeah, I get that. If you've got an owner that changes things a lot, I don't tend to change a lot at Decades. It takes me a long time to make changes. We've been doing the same thing for 8.5 years now. I don't think I make decisions on whims, but I don't know. My vendors would have to tell me that. But yeah, you got to be steady. You got to give the booth owners a platform that they can grow and learn in. You can't keep changing the rules as they go. All right. Here's one, number 13, controversial: discussing politics with customers. Yeah, if you're a booth owner and you're in the shop, you shouldn't do that. You're standing there as a booth owner and you're talking politics, and maybe they don't go well with the customer. You're almost representing the shop as a whole. So I get that's controversial. Number 14, vendors want to know what others make. Controversial, yes, but if you're a vendor and you don't want to tell somebody what you make, you just don't tell them. We don't discuss things in numbers here. I think the vendors, for the most part, know who the top sellers are, just because of the activity and the time they spend in their booth and the volume of stuff while they're here that they see comes up to the counter or whatever. But yeah, I don't think anybody should go around saying their numbers. If you're proud of them, you're proud of them. Excuse me. Let me send that off to voicemail there. Sorry about that. So that's very controversial, but it's easy to handle. Just don't tell anybody your numbers. Okay, this is it. This is my last one. Having to pay the credit card fees along with the commission. And yeah, I get it. Credit card fees change a lot. They seem to be going up and up. And there's got to be a point in time where the business needs to pass that on to either the customer or the vendor or the booth owner. It could be done in different ways. I know there's a lot of shops that actually charge to use credit cards if you don't have cash, passing that on to the customer. And then others, they charge, a different percentage, or they charge for the credit card fees back to the vendor or the booth owner. And I get that. It's tough. It's tough. At Decades, we have a certain percentage, a large portion of that. A quarter of what we charge in commission goes for credit card fees if the customer uses a credit card. We have a sign on the register that states that cash is king. We prefer cash. That helps quite a bit, but we pay a ton in credit card fees. We don't pass that on to our vendors here. That's kind of in their commission. But if it ever got to a point where it was getting outrageous, the credit card fees, then we would just either pass it on to the customer or move the commission up to cover that. So all right, wasn't the best of my shows, sorry about that. We had a big day yesterday, super tired, so I appreciate you guys if you stayed through and watched the whole thing. I promise I'll make the next one better. So if you're ever in Central Florida, stop by Decades, say hey, check us out. You can see more about us on Facebook. We're on TikTok, Instagram. We're on the web at decadesreclaim.com. Have a great night. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Again, I'm your host, Jim, and you've been watching Vendor Corner. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.